close-knit group of 9 friends hit the jackpot. As they come together to celebrate their incredible win, emotions run high with joy and excitement. But soon, the reality of their newfound wealth begins to reveal the complexities and challenges of their new lives. Friendships are tested as personal desires and hidden motives come to light. Join us in We Hit, where a stroke of luck unfolds into a story of drama, backstab, lies, deceit, and blood, the actual cost of fortune. Chapter 1. We Hit. A beautiful Saturday night, beating with the city's pulse, was about to change the lives of a close-knit group of friends, each engrossed in their weekend routine, with a startling revelation. Mario and Emmanuel were engrossed in a furious online Call of Duty game, focusing on outwitting their computer-generated rivals. Their phones pinging at the same time was a strange interruption. Their interest was piqued, so they put the game on hold and looked at the message on their displays. It said, "We've hit the jackpot." Their virtual battlefield vanished from memory instantly, leaving only a shock and a burst of adrenaline. As they came to terms with their victory, elation immediately seized over. The constant buzzing of Ontario's phone startled her from her reading world while she curled up at home with a book. A gasp came out of her mouth as her eyes examined the letter. She looked at Mario, who was staring at her with the same shock and exhilaration she felt. Alex was ready for a peaceful evening after returning from a long day of running errands. The unexpected alert on his phone caught his attention, and as soon as he opened the message, a rush of excitement overcame his exhaustion. Ladarius was eating casually in the middle of a busy diner. Amidst the dishes and conversation, his phone made a strange buzzing sound. His eyes grew wide with surprise as he read the group's message, and he let out a victorious shout that caused the other diners to observe him with curiosity. Tara was enjoying some self-care at home, with a face mask on and relaxing music playing in the background. Her phone pinging served as a mild interruption. Her pulse raced with excitement as she read the letter, and she couldn't help but smile widely, her face mask creasing slightly at her emotion. Michelle was crocheting calmly in her comfortable living room, taking pleasure in the solitude of her own company. She jumped as she felt her phone vibrate out of nowhere on the coffee table. She smiled instantly upon seeing the message on the computer, along with a warm sensation of unbelievably joyful anticipation. Jason is fixing up one of his older vehicles when the alert tone on his phone goes off. He lurched to his feet in shock upon seeing the news on his phone, his heart palpitating with anticipation. Chris was in his office alone, finishing up papers related to his tow truck business. His phone ping interrupted the stillness, and a slow, skeptical smile crossed his face as he read the message. When they realized they had won, their group chat became a frenzy of messages, turning it from a light-hearted platform to an essential hub for last-minute planning. Soon after, the initial excitement led to a more somber conversation regarding their next action. Mario was the first to raise his concern. "We must keep this information confidential and safe," he typed. Emmanuel agreed and emphasized the significance of meeting in a safe area. Realizing the seriousness of the issue, the group agreed. Alex suggested they meet at the old factory, but something cozier and more familiar quickly occurred. Mario suggested, "What about my place?" considering the need for a secure and reliable location. "Everyone knows it. It's safe, and we can protect our privacy there." Everyone found resonance with the idea. They had always gathered at Mario's house since it was a comfortable location to talk freely. It provided the right amount of privacy and comfort necessary for their private rendezvous. A mix of excitement and caution descended as the group converged on this strategy. The night that had begun like any other had swiftly changed to mark the start of an incredible journey. It was full of the promise of fresh opportunities, the difficulties ahead, and a confirmation of their strong relationship. Each group member felt a mixture of enthusiasm and somber realization of the road ahead as they prepared to meet at Mario's residence. Their lotto gain was more than simply a windfall. It was a critical event that would test their prudence, trust, and camaraderie. They prepared to start this new chapter with a common goal and unity, resolved to work through the challenges of their newfound prosperity as a team. Setting up the scene beforehand, Mario carefully examined every lock and security system in his home to ensure their meeting spot was as safe as possible. Through the curtains, his gaze searched the street outside for any strange activity. Mario couldn't eliminate the notion that every shadow might hide a possible threat, even if the peaceful suburban area appeared unaltered. Driving to Mario's residence, Emmanuel saw that he was especially cautious near all vehicles. He watched the rearview mirror closely, his head reeling from movie sequences where the smallest mistake resulted in disastrous consequences. He drove below the speed limit, double-checked his seatbelt, and avoided the typical shortcuts in favor of the main routes, which are better lit and more clear. He took no chances. As the others approached Antariel and Mario, who was already at home, she began to feel increasingly uneasy in the pit of her stomach. The silence within the house seemed to magnify every squeak and noise outside. The distant sound of a siren made her jump, and she couldn't stop thinking of how their unexpected luck could turn against them. She moved nervously around the living room, sometimes glancing through the curtains at every passing automobile while she waited for the others to come. Her heart raced with every headlight that swept across the glass. With a firm grip on her phone, she continuously checked the group chat for updates on everyone's whereabouts, silently praying for their safe return. Normally a haven, their home's familiar walls felt like the hub of a complex web of destiny and luck. Even though Alex had never thought of himself as superstitious, he noticed a change in perspective as he got in his car and headed to Mario's house. Every bend and every stop sign looked heavier than normal. He was driving more cautiously now, following the traffic laws more carefully than usual. A tiny giggle escaped him at his increased wariness as he drove and noticed a black cat darting across the road, forcing him to slow down and give it plenty of space. He shook his head at his unexpected adoption of these myths and changed lanes. He had always laughed at the old wives' tale of throwing a pinch of salt over his shoulder after unintentionally spilling coffee at a red light. His customary carefree driving manner had given way to one that was more careful. Even Ladarius, who was often at ease, felt slightly uneasy as he started. Every siren and gust of wind seemed to portend something. He avoided listening to music, waited a few seconds at green lights, and exercised extra caution at junctions to remain as vigilant as possible. Tara's trip to Mario's was a sequence of well-thought-out steps. Before driving off, she double-checked the brakes and lights on her car and kept a watchful eye on the sky, half expecting something to fall. She avoided the bustle of the city's nightlife by choosing the longer, less-traveled route. Michelle drove with a cautious caution that she had never experienced before. She paid close attention to every look in the side mirror and every scan of the road ahead to ensure she didn't miss any potential danger signs. With her senses sharpened by every movement around her, her palms clutched the steering wheel more tightly than normal. Chris felt nervous as he drove over, even though he usually had a relaxed attitude. His eyes darted between the road and his mirrors as he purposefully avoided distractions, kept his phone silent, and kept a safe distance from other cars. Their thoughts were racing with scenarios and cautious plans as they went to Mario's residence. The familiar streets had an air of difference, an underlying tension. When the group got closer to Mario's house, the anxiety that had engulfed each member during their travels started to subside. Instead, they felt a sense of relief and unity upon reaching the comfortable, secure refuge. After Mario and Antariel, Emmanuel was the first to arrive, and he cautiously and precisely drew into the driveway. Exiting his car, he took a deep breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. He felt the weight of tension go away. Mario gave him a kind, comforting nod as he approached the front door. Alex was the second to arrive, his car purring to a halt. He smiled sarcastically as he got out, thinking back on the uncommon caution that had characterized his trip. As he stepped into Mario's porch light, a sense of security and comfort washed over him. Ladarius came along soon after, parking his car with more caution than was typical of his easygoing manner. He took one last look around before leaving, his feet becoming more rapid as he approached the warm glow of the house. Before turning them off, Tara briefly let her car's headlights shine on Mario's house. The customary peace she experienced while driving had starkly contrasted with her careful drive. She felt secure as she exited her automobile because she was rooted in Mario's home environment. The following person to come was Michelle. With meticulous care, she parked. Her anxious countenance softened as she emerged and saw the others, her friend's presence providing a consoling warmth. Even Jason, with a hint of his usual flair, had toned down his usually loud appearance. His comfortable stance betrayed his joy at having safely arrived at Mario's house. He waved to the group as he got out of his car. At last, Chris entered the driveway, his tow truck a sight the gang was accustomed to seeing. Glad to have arrived at his location without any mishap, he grinned as he climbed out, looking exhausted, yet relieved. The group was complete upon his arrival, and everyone was safely assembled at Mario's residence. The comfort of being together in a safe environment overcame the strain of their travels as they gathered in Mario's living room. The room was alive with quiet talk as they related their stories of the cautious drives, interspersing each with chuckles and sympathetic nods. Their predicament started to feel more genuine in this room, with all these familiar faces. They were close to a brand new, unknown adventure, but safe and united. They were ready to talk about the fantastic turn their lives had taken and had a tangible sense of unity and purpose. The mood softly changed from cautious relief to enthusiastic conversation as the last of the party sank into Mario's cozy living room embrace. An infectious enthusiasm filled the room as they realized they were all there and the thrilling truth of their victory. As usual, Mario played the part of the generous host, bringing out drinks for everyone, and the sound of glasses clinking filled the room with excited laughter and chatter. The beverages appeared to represent more than simply a party. They were a toast to their companionship, extraordinary good fortune, and the uncharted territory ahead. There was nevertheless a hint of caution amid the cheerful joking and accounts of their nerve-wracking drives. They knew very well that the public was unaware of their newfound wealth outside Mario's secure home, a secret they all intended to protect. They knew they had to tread carefully and together on this new route, so their laughter was tinted with solidarity. As the evening went on, everyone in the room shared their aspirations and anxieties for the future, and the room was alive with plans and ideas. The opportunities appeared limitless, but so did the possible dangers. They were all aware that the journey ahead would be paved with choices that would put their relationship to the test and contradict their morals. The sound of a vibrating phone broke the relaxed rest that the group had fallen into. The gadget drew everyone's attention as Antariel examined the screen perplexedly. Her expression changed from confusion to worry and warnings, and the other group members exchanged worried glances as their lighthearted banter gave way to a cautious stillness. After a brief pause, Antariel reached for her phone. A flashing unknown number was on the screen, and the caller ID was covered. As she hesitantly answered the phone, the group watched, a growing sense of communal dread mounting. Hello. Well, what an explosive chapter that was. You've just listened to another twist in the dark tale of We Hit. If your heart's racing and you're craving more, you know what to do. Smash that like button and hit subscribe. Things are about to get even bloodier, more deceitful, and thrilling. So stay with us and brace yourselves for the next chapter.